Hello, what's up? Facebook Live peeps, Facebook peeps, and the Art of Powerful Alignment. It is great to be here. I just had some amazing revelations from client calls recently, and I wanted to share it with you guys. And it had to do with parents. And I see this pattern happening over and over and over again. And this is specifically, hello, if you're watching on replay, let me know where you're tuning in from. It's nice to see you. It would be nice to chat with you a little bit so I can know there's some engagement and interaction. I'm in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. I'm looking forward to this upcoming overview experience in downtown Vancouver, going to be in Toronto in September, and Brisbane, Australia in the first weekend of October, last weekend of September. So I'm super duper stoked about these principles. For those of you who are the new members, I'd like to welcome you. My name is Dr.Nima Rahmany. I am the kind of the creator of this group. I created a methodology called the Overview Method, which helps people dissolve stress and dissolve resentment. Stress is something that will is constantly thrown at you each and every day. Events that are happening that are forcing us to adapt, but because of our lack of resilience, because in school you didn't learn how to process different stresses, these things can start to become part of your, into your physiology. And hey, what's up, Elena? It goes into your physiology, and then it creates digestive issues, hormonal issues, and all sorts of health issues. And I'm trained as a chiropractor, and I would see patient after patient coming in to see me with stress-related disorders, and they didn't have a solution except, I would adjust them and it would feel better temporarily, but they still went back home and they had resentment towards mom, or they thought that dad was a cheating, lying jerk. And hey, Diani, what's going on? So what I discovered in this journey was that chances are, if you're dealing with a stress-related disorder and you're dealing with insomnia, you're dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder, OCD, hormonal problems, digestive issues, you name it. When I have worked with clients, one comes to mind just as I'm talking to you. She was struggling with years of constipation, tried all of the herbal stuff, naturopathic stuff, nutrition. Her nutrition was precise. In fact, her nutritionist referred her to me. She's dealing with chronic constipation. And in the overview session that we did, turns out she hated her mother. Her mother was one of those hard asses. And I'm going to give you the mechanisms behind why your parents are the way they are. And if you're a parent, why you potentially are an asshole as well, even though you're going to go get defensive. I'm saying it in jest. I'm saying it with pure fun, that we all are potentially assholes. We all have that trait within us. But specifically, in her case, her mother was a complete hard ass. And the anger and bitterness and resentment towards her, she had this incredible sense of congestion in her digestive system. And we did an overview session on it. And she, as a result of doing the session and doing the method, which helps you dissolve the resentment. And why am I saying this is because resentment is like taking poison, expecting the other person to die. No, I'm a total bitch. Well, Deanna, you've been a client of mine, so you've come face to face with your darkness, and you've learned to appreciate your bitchy side, which most people haven't yet learned to do. And what she discovered was that the resentment she was feeling towards her mother was causing and contributing to her chronic feelings of indigestion, chronic feelings of constipation. And just after we had our session, she went and had this powerful bowel movement. She would have them once every 2 or 3 weeks. Talk about being backed up and full of shit. Okay, she had that, and after she opened her heart and loved her mother for the first time, she saw all of her mother's hard-assness, not as in the way, but on the way of her powerful. All of her power as a teacher, as a mother, came from the hard-assness of her own mother, and she opened her heart and loved her mother for the first time. And yes, resentment is like taking poison and expecting the other person to die. And the resentment she was having towards her asshole mother, we turned to open her heart, and all of a sudden, from that moment on, she was having powerful bowel movements. Wow. And it's so funny because people come to me with all sorts of health problems, and my job is, I'm not a chiropractor. I'm not working as a chiropractor. I'm not licensed to treat illnesses and disorders. However, I want to know your story of what you're saying and feeling about your parents. And chances are the problems that are happening in your life is because of a resentment towards mom or dad because of who they were. Some of my clients, their mothers were, they were, drunks. Their mother was, in one of my clients, mother was a prostitute. In other cases, father was an abusive, narcissistic, bipolar alcoholic. What is the label that you have towards your parents? And now, so the label that I had was that my parents were unsupportive assholes, okay? So if I decided that I wanted to not go into medicine but become a chiropractor, they thought, what is this chiropractic? It's not a real doctor. And I was like, that is so asshole and unsupportive of you. But what I was doing was projecting on them my values. In fact, the way that you dissolve your resentment towards your parents, and why am I so keen on helping people do that, is because the impact of your resentment that you're having towards the labels that you're giving towards your parents is messing up your digestion. It's messing up your hormones. And everyone with a health issue, when you really peel it back, they have a unresolved guilt, unresolved resentment. And usually it comes, why parents? Because they're our primary relationships. So why is this so important is because the way that your parents occur to you and your beliefs and thoughts and perceptions about your parents set the tone for every single freaking relationship that you're having in all of your life. So if you're incomplete with your parents, then chances are you have a shitty relationship going on, or you're dealing with bouts of anxiety, or you have health problems, and these health problems are trying to awaken you to the potential of loving your family for who they are, because there is no more powerful healing factor than the power of unconditional love and gratitude. The results of helping people through this is completely like heart opening. Yeah, absolutely. Have to send my clients to this video. Absolutely. Let them in. This is critical. I would love to. If you know people who need to get in, invite them in this group. They need to hear this, because anytime you're trying to heal and you're saying, my mother was an asshole, my father was, whatever story you have, and I'm sure you're right. I'm sure you're justified in feeling that way. My father abandoned me. My mother, another client of mine, father left at the age of 6. And for 30 years, he's been holding on to this belief that my father was an asshole who left. And the impact of that was he was having affairs, and he had some affairs, and he's always feeling this lack of purpose. And once we got him to open up his heart to his father and go and restore his relationship with his father, he now has his father back in his life. He realizes he wasn't lacking love at all. It was totally caused by, hey, what's up, Sylvie? Victim stories, definitely, that's probably the biggest challenge. If you're listening and you're dealing with a health problem and you're stuck in relationship limbo, you're running a victim story, and that person in your life, whether they're your boss, you're your employer, your partner, is trying to get you to face it. And so what I do is I specialize in helping people get to the underlying root cause of it, help them open their heart to love and gratitude, find their power again so that they can move forward back together in their relationships, or apart powerfully as co-parents or as friends, or they make powerful leaps into their next move in their careers. And it's so fascinating to me watching somebody transform once we change their victim story. So Sylvie, you had it right. So this victim story that we have about our parents who are assholes or whatever, let me give you a little insight on this. Why they're assholes is very simple, is because I had a story that every single time, like I went through my divorce, my parents came down hard on me, and they were totally assholes to me. instead of supporting me through my divorce, they turned around and said, I told you so, I told you, da, da, da. And I was like, oh my God, why are they such assholes? And it wasn't until I started taking on clients who were parents and who also had problems with their parents where I realized what the answer is. Here's why your parents are assholes. You want to know why? Here's what it is. Parents, when they see you going through challenges, when they see you falling down, when they see you acting out, they turn around and make it mean that your failures are their failures. I really want you to really get this. Because I was like, why is my mom not leaving me alone? Why is it that she's bothering me about my room, about my relationship, about is everything okay in your relationship? What's going on here? How are you doing with savings? How are you like, why don't you just leave me the fuck alone? And here's why. Until I started, this was a revelation that actually I'm kind of embarrassed to say, yep, I'm kind of embarrassed. My patients arrived. I'm kind of embarrassed to say that I learned this by taking my other clients through this, okay? A parent are assholes, and you as a parent become an asshole when you make your child's perceived failures or falls or sadness your own. You make it mean that you're a failure, you're a bad mother. The impact of that belief and that meaning making that we do is that we start to try to overparent. We start to try to over control. If your child has a tantrum, okay, and when you hold space, when you are a rock star parent and you know how to hold space, which is one of the modules in my program, Powerfully Aligned, we learn about this. When you learn how to do this, you can then watch your child have a meltdown and you don't make it mean that you're a failure. Because when you take your child's sadness, heartbreak, anxiety, insert problem of the child here, which you're calling me to fix, and you don't make it mean that you are a shitty parent and you're a failure as a parent, then you're able to hold space and be the safe place for your child to unload their own emotional vomit. Because quite frankly, that's sometimes what we need as human beings, is a safe place to express and feel like we're not being judged. But unfortunately, my parents, when they perceive my sadness or my, upset or relationship breakdowns, they perceive it as their failure. They don't provide me a safe space to express. Because then what happens is when I go to express it, they turn around and go, why do you feel that way? You shouldn't feel that way. You should do this. You should do that. And they go and try to fix it, and they're not actually hearing me. My mother isn't actually hearing me. This is my mother's greatest challenge in her parenting, is that she has this opinion of, I'm such a bad mom that if I were to approach her with a challenge, which I'm so badly want to do sometimes, is say, hey mom, this is not working for me and I'm having a tough time in my marriage. I couldn't go to her with that, because she would make it mean something about her. She would turn around and make it about her. How often do you do that with your child? And how often has your parent done that with you, where you go to them with a problem and they make it about them? That's why your parents are assholes. That's why you become an asshole as a parent. Because instead of holding space for your child to express and then not try to fix, but just be there as a holding space stand, because you're not able to do that, you're trying to fix, and that causes the child to then make it mean I'm a failure. So when I go to them and I say, I'm having problems in my relationship, in my marriage, I'm getting a divorce, see, I told you so. And what that happens is they make it mean that they're not good enough. And now they react in a way, rather than respond with love, they react to their fears of not being good enough, and they blame it on me. And I'm sitting there going, what the fuck did I do bringing it up with them? What a mistake that I made there. And so the reason why your parents are assholes and you become an asshole as a parent is you make every problem that they're going through mean something about you. That's why I become an asshole in my relationship when My girlfriend shares what's happening. Sometimes it's a complaint about me, and then I go into defensive mode. I'm not able to be powerfully aligned within myself so that I can then be a stand for her to express and share and really get into her world, and then really be at that safe space for her to express and not make it mean that I'm a failure as a boyfriend. Because quite frankly, oftentimes people aren't coming to you for solutions. They just want to feel empathized and heard and feel like they're not crazy. They just want to be met where they're at. And just by doing that, it makes the problem disappear. But unfortunately, parents, when we make it mean something about us, when parents make it mean that they're a failure, they can't hold space. They go into defensive mode, which is what my mother often does when we're in a conversation and I'm not able to communicate it in a way where she doesn't get triggered. So as I learn the art of aligning myself with my truth, and as I learn the art of communicating in the values of other people, I can cause others challenges to completely, others reactions to disappear. But that's up to the conscious individual. That's up to the person who wants to be conscious. And what's at stake? Why do you need to know this? Well, what do you need to know is that you can completely transform another human being, whether they're a parent or a child, just by being able to hold space. And why do you need to know this is because you could be missing out on love that's been there all along. And if you're missing out and blocking love and blocking truth, your health is going to turn to shit. And you're playing victim. And your body is going to come up with signs and symptoms to try to help you see the truth, but we cover them up with pills and we don't deal with the truth. And we say, oh, I've getting over it. I'm over it. I don't want to deal with it. I've had many people, even nutritionists, I don't want to name names, who think that they've gotten over their past and resentments, but these resentments that we hold on to, that we don't want to deal with, and that we don't want to look at with mom, with dad, are actually completely destroying our lives. So what do you need to do? You need to actually get real and make a list of all of the shoulds in your life about mom, about dad, and what they shouldn't have left, they shouldn't have. And you need to find somebody who's going to help you unpack it. You need to find somebody that you trust, who knows what it's like, who's been through what you've been through, who isn't going to support your victim story, who's going to actually help you unpack it and get real and tell the truth and restore integrity so that you can get your power and freedom back. And why do you need to do that? Because your health is at stake. Because your life is based. What is your life? Your life is a series of relationships. And if you don't have completion with the most primitive relationships in your life, mom and dad, even if they've passed on and you haven't unpacked it, look around you, you'll see it show up in other forms. You'll see it show up in boss, you'll see it show up in your partner, and there will be a disconnect happening that requires you to do the difficult work to complete with yourself. If you're sitting there thinking, I'm waiting for an apology from my dad who left, well, guess what? You're living in a delusion, and you're missing out on an opportunity that's available to you if you take on the work. So it's now July, and we've had some successful applicants in our program have graduated and their lives have completely changed. One of my clients who didn't have a relationship with his father is now restored with that, and they have a standing phone call every Sunday, which they didn't have for over 30 years. Guess what's going to happen to his sense of power in his life, in his work, in his relationship, knowing that that incomplete is complete. So I am offering this for 2 people who are incomplete with parents. And here's the kicker. They are willing to be overcoming their victim story and be the cause and the matter of the union, number 1. And number 2, they are seeing that it's now impacting, it's now what's at stake is it's impacting their relationship with their kids. Because if you're not complete with your parents, guess what? It's going to come back and haunt you with the kids. One of my clients, she doesn't have a relationship with her daughter or her mother, and she's got all sorts of health problems, chronic pain, hormonal imbalance, all of that stuff. And nutrition and all that isn't really working because she's holding on to resentment. So I'm reaching out and I'm offering this to 2 people, send me a private message, who have been holding on to resentment, and they're noticing that it's now impacting their health. So it's got to be somebody who's actually ready to take it on and face their fears and their demons and have a conversation. Send me a private message and let me know, I want to know what's going on, where you'd like to be, where the breakdown was. And my job is to basically create a strategy for you. Who this is not for, do not send me a message if you want to play victim for the rest of your life. And you expect others and you feel entitled. This is not for the entitled victims. You go to your support groups, go to your therapist and your counselor and keep telling your story. That's not what I'm here to do. I want to hear your story and then create a strategy for you so that over the next 60 to 90 days, you not only get your life back, you get your health back, and you get other relationships. If you aren't having a great relationship in love, guess what? There's an incomplete or a lack of truth and authenticity with your parents, with the most primitive relationships. I went to work hard when I learned about this, and I went to Italy with my father, something I never would have done. And I got off my need to be right. So my question is, would you rather be right or to have a rich life? And so I got off my need to be right, and I restored with my father. And that was back in November, and I've had a massively rich life since then, not only with him, but with other relationships. And I credit it to the work that I did. So send me a private message. Let me know if this was resonated for you. What's your feedback? Let's continue the conversation. Invite people into this group who really need to hear this conversation. They are running a victim story. Your victim story is tiring. It's causing digestive and hormonal problems in your life, in your body, and it's not serving you. So I'd like to talk to those who are ready to cross that bridge of fear and actually be the cause and the matter of the transformation of their own body, their mind, and their life. Hopefully that was useful. Was this useful for you guys? Please tag somebody, invite them in this group, tag someone. This is only specific for this group, and I'd love to be of service, and that's what I'm here to do. 2 spots, 2 conversations, no charge. No charge for the conversation. I disqualify several people just based on the questionings that I have. I want to work with those who are actually keen on clearing it. Mad love to you, and I will see you at the next perfect time. Please write in the comments what takeaways, what shares that you have, and I look forward to seeing you at the next perfect time. God bless.